Hello everybody and welcome to the latest episode of On Screen. I'm your host Dylan Wright and I'm here to take you on a journey through film and television. I want to apologize in advance if I sound sick or a little under the weather. It's because I am. It usually happens right around my birthday and Thanksgiving, so I have to deal with that. But hopefully my voice still sounds as sultry and satisfying to all you listeners. So on this week's episode of the podcast, I want to talk about something that's really prevalent nowadays, especially since the Gilmore Girls are back on the small screen and even smaller screen because they're on Netflix now instead of the CW and the WB, and that's revivals of television shows. We've recently seen a huge boom of them thanks to streaming services like Netflix, where we have a show that we remember watching as kids, and now they're being reintroduced to newer audiences. Shows like Gilmore Girls, A Year in the Life, Fuller House, Girl Meets World, shows of that caliber and timber. Now, these shows aren't outright remakes or reboots. They're actually using the characters from the shows that they originate from and seeing where they are and where they've been since the show that they're originally from has been canceled or has gone off air. For instance, Girl Meets World follows the daughter of Corey and Topanga, who is going through high school, just like Corey Matthews, the main character of Boy Meets World, did back in the 90s and early 2000s. Fuller House has DJ Tanner being the main figure in the household instead of her father, Danny Tanner, and it has some of the older people coming back to do cameos and also star in the show. And then you have a show like Twin Peaks that's coming back on air that we literally know next to nothing about because David Lynch and Showtime like to keep us waiting, especially since it was supposed to come out this year, but has now been pushed to 2017. So hopefully that turns out okay. But it's interesting to see how many different shows are being brought back, Frankensteined back to life, if you will. We're having this influx of old shows being brought back for a younger or still wanting audience. Netflix has especially been doing this with Fuller House and Gilmore Girls, and even though Fuller House wasn't as well received as Netflix would have wanted it to be, Gilmore Girls is getting some pretty good feedback from the audiences that really loved the show to begin with. Of course, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet because I'm still on season 5, but regardless, it's bringing in a huge influx of people who may not have been watching TV since their favorite show went off air or have been always complaining and wistfully thinking, oh, what if the Tanner house was full of running children again? And what if we saw Uncle Jesse and heard You Got It Dude or any of those catchphrases once again? And instead of doing a one-off reunion special, networks have decided, let's put out a whole show. Let's give the audiences what they want. Let's do all the callbacks back to the original show and let them know how great this show was, how much fun they could have with this new show. And that's not to say that all of these revivals are cash-in nostalgia trips. There's actually some good quality to come out of some of them, like Girl Meets World. I've watched, I think, an entire, maybe season and a half of that show, and I was really taken aback by how good it was and how it wasn't just trying to cash in on the love that people have for Boy Meets World. I mean, yeah, you still have your cameos from all the original characters that you know and love, but you're also learning about these new characters, and you're learning to love them, and Corey and Topanga aren't even the main characters. The main characters are Corey and Topanga's daughter and her friends. And it's really interesting to see just like the generational gap that they put in there. Like how much they actually care about each other and how you can compare and contrast the children of today with the children of the 90s. I can't provide testimony for Fuller House since I couldn't get past the first episode where each original member of the first show was greeted with about a 20-minute applause. That was a little too much for me, and every time they said their line, the audience went crazy, and it was like, oh my God, DJ's back, Danny, oh, Jesse. And I just couldn't deal with it, so I had to push that aside. But it's really special that some people are able to revisit what they used to watch and introduce their kids to kind of a similar type of show that they like. And I think that's the biggest thing that a revival can do is to reignite nostalgia in some people and reintroduce an old favorite to others. And unlike remakes, the revivals aren't really trying to take what worked in the original and make it something new. They're basically taking the original people, the original kind of premise, and just introducing it to a new generation, maybe adding some new characters, maybe just focusing on the old ones. And it's just a way for people to kind of reconnect with something from their past that they thought was long dormant in a new way, other than just doing reruns or just watching that box set that you own that's been sitting on your shelf for ages. It's a way to kind of re-immerse yourself into the universe of that show. And it's really special to some people. Yes, it's used as a cash-in, but everything else in Hollywood nowadays is a cash-in. Every idea you see on screen, it's usually, oh, well, we saw that this movie made a lot of money, so let's try this. The same thing with these. We saw this show get brought back pretty successfully. Let's see if we can bring back other shows. A lot of the times it doesn't work because they're just trying to copy a formula that they saw was successful and just, repurposing it for other means. But when the creator is really passionate and they really want to go back to the universe that they helped create, that is when the revival works the best. That's why I'm hoping Twin Peaks is going to be good, because it's David Lynch and Mark Frost, these two men who created this 2-season universe that eventually kind of got sick of it and left in the middle of season 2. And they're like, you know what, let's go back and let's tell that story again. Let's see where everybody's at. Let's show the audience what we want to see. That's when revivals work the best, is when there's a passion, when there's more to the story to be told, when it's not just going back just to make cash. It's for a purpose. It's for a reason. And that's the best kind of revival, and that's what every person who sees that their show is coming back could ever hope for. So now it's time for my Netflix pick of the week, and this pick is a TV show that didn't last that long, but it should have definitely lasted longer than it did, since it only ran for like a season or two, and that's Freaks and Geeks. It's a great show about high school in the 70s, and if you look at the cast, it's just filled with people that are like really famous now, like James Franco, Seth Rogen, Martin Starr's in there, and he's hilarious. So it's a really interesting show to watch. It's hilarious. Laugh out loud funny oftentimes. Oh, Jason Segel's in it. I mean, come on. You can't go wrong with that cast of characters. A young James Franco looking like James Dean. You can't miss it. So that is my Netflix television pick of the week. So my Netflix movie pick of the week is the third movie in a series, but that shouldn't deter you from watching this, as well as the other ones. The other movies in the series are actually really good. It's Mission Impossible 3. Now, each Mission Impossible film is directed by a different director. Like, the first one was directed by Brian De Palma. The second one was directed by John Woo. And this one's directed by a little-known director. I don't know if you know who he is. J.J. Abrams, of the new Star Trek movie fame and the new Star Wars movies. And, I mean, he's a pretty prolific director now. But it's a really good movie in the series because it has Philip Seymour Hoffman, the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, as the villain. And he is definitely the best Mission Impossible villain in the entire series. His chemistry with Ethan Hunt, who is played by Tom Cruise, of course, is just amazing, and the back and forth between the two as hero and villain is just really interesting to watch, and the action scenes are mind-blowing. They're some of the best action scenes that have been put on film. So that is my Netflix movie pick of the week. So that's going to be it for this week's episode of On Screen. I want to apologize again if my voice kind of was shaky during that podcast episode. Hopefully I'll be right back up to good health for the next one. But until then, if you guys have any suggestions for any future episodes of the podcast, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments section. I would love to hear them. I would love to talk about what you guys want me to talk about. So until next time, take care.